looking for something. A new way, a new understanding, a connection, some comfort. You've got questions, and Light on Living puts the spotlight on all the answers so you can shine. Lift and lighten the load of life's challenges and learn simple and easy ways to live a healthy, happy life. You'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you. You're invited to hear new, see different, and feel more as Lisa shines the light on living.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Light on Living. I'm your host, Lisa Berry, and today, yes, the power of connection versus control with nature. And it's specifically with nature. I wanted to talk about nature today. It's such a beautiful thing to talk about, but even more beautiful is to understand it. And I couldn't imagine a better person, a more connected person than my guest today, Selena Ella Moon, to share with us all about not just a connection, but we're getting really deep here, an intuitive connection. First of all, we're going to find out what that means. Do you guys have it? Yes, we're going to say yes, but how can you access it? And what does it do for us? Like, can we improve the quality of our life with our connection with nature? And is it better to just connect versus control? All that good stuff. I have so many questions, but one thing I want to share specifically is that Selena she is just, I'm going to say it, she just oozes nature and love and joy, and the words flow out of her mouth, and she's going to say, don't do all this, so I'm going to make me nervous, but just her connection though, your connection, Selena, with earth and the plants and the trees, and I love that you say about the beautiful elements of the earth. And so everyone, we are all connected to these elements, but Selena's going to share with us how we can intuitively connect as well. So first of all, welcome, Selena.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here, Lisa. It's such an exciting day and such a pleasure to be here and have this conversation today.
No, it really is. And that's what it is, conversations. And I'd like to share with everybody that Selena is in Canada right now, and she's over in BC, British Columbia, while I'm over here in Ontario. And I think it's kind of fun that we're on different parts of the world. It's fun when that happens. And let me share with the listeners who you are a little bit, Selena, because I love your bio here. So Selena Ella Moon. Selena is an intuitive coach and transformational facilitator with a background in psychosomatic therapy. I love that. NLP and energy healing. Selena is dedicated both personally and professionally to the journey of self-discovery, as she believes it is possible for the human race to evolve radically beyond our limitations by becoming self-aware. Besides being a facilitator and spiritual evolution for clients and event participants, Selena prioritizes practical applications to develop greater emotional awareness in people by bridging the gap between spirituality and practicality. And that seems like such a big jump right now. Selena,
it does, doesn't it?
Yes, and let's talk about that one especially. I'm highlighting that right now. Selena can see emotional and spiritual root causes that create physical limitations and assist people in transforming these blocks through quantum healing techniques. Selena is passionate about working with individuals who are ready to break through their own limitations and create substantial shifts in their lives. I'm kicking this off right now by asking about, okay, here it is, my big question. Is it even possible that we as human beings, have blocked our connection with nature? Or is it seriously blocked, or are we just not listening, or just are we rejecting it?
That's a beautiful question to start off with. And I love that you just kicked it off with that, because the way that I see human nature is actually that we are nature and we are embodiments of Gaia. And even if you study the qualities and the molecular structure of Gaia, humans also have the same molecular structures in a lot of ways as Mother Nature. So it's quite interesting that we have dissociated using with our minds from nature so much, because we are actually naturally a part of nature. And if you just think of the cycles that we go through, even just as women, we go through our moon cycles, and we go through rhythms, and we go through phases of life, just the way that Mother Nature does in her seasons.
I love it. Yeah, cycles and seasons. And okay, you made me laugh when you said human nature because I was like, they were literally called like named after it. But if we are nature itself, I'm wondering, how did we? Okay, maybe let's not go that far and deep. Is it possible to stop hurting the outside nature by stopping to hurt ourselves?
Yes. I love that you said that, because that's my belief, is that the more that we love ourselves and the more that we connect with ourselves, right, there's going to be a shift in the way that we connect with everything around us, because the vibration of our bodies are always connecting and speaking to us in ways to help us to get the nourishment that we need and to, really just gravitate towards the spaces and the environments that our bodies need, and the food that we need, and the water that we need, and the people that we need in our lives. And I think when we can get to a place of really honoring that within ourselves, we can see that everything in nature has needs and requires a certain amount of love and nourishment to thrive. And when we can give that to ourselves, we become so aware that that which is around us also has requirements that we can pass on our love to and share our overflowing cup of love with.
That is beautiful. Okay, so happy the word requirement, because when you look at nutrients, we say, okay, my body, myself requires this nutrient. We don't say, all right, I'm ready to control myself now. You're like, I'm ready to connect. So what is nature requiring from us right now?
When I connect with nature, it's always shifting, because I do believe that she's very, and I call her she, because I do feel like she has a very feminine essence to her. She's always creating, just like a woman is giving birth. Nature is always giving birth to new life. And I really do believe that depending on where we are in terms of humanity, I feel like that's what she's responding to. So I really believe that she wants our attention and our love. And she also, my belief is she actually wants to allow us to let her support us. So I almost feel like nature is in service to humanity. The other day I was actually driving on the highway, and there was just a truck of timber in front of me, and a part of me was sad, and I was like, oh, all these trees are being cut down. And I decided, I'm not going to let my mind take over and create this like sadness and whatnot. I'm actually going to open up my connection to these huge, beautiful pieces of lumber that are before me. I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to ask them how they feel about being cut down. And what they said to me was that, and what they said to me is, they said, we're in service to humanity. We're in service to humanity. So the more that we honor Mother Nature and the more that we allow her to thrive, the more humans will thrive, because nature is here for us. You think of even just the concept of oxygen and carbon dioxide, right? We need to have nature around us in order to really maximize our breath, which is what we need to survive.
Right. Oh my gosh. You gave me the funniest picture. It's not like if I was right sitting beside you and I took a deeper breath, you're not going to be like, oh my God, look at all that extra air, oxygen you just killed and murdered and used up. You're like,
exactly. It's not about lack. It's not about scarcity. It's just about honoring that we are in flow. We're in a relationship with one another. We have a connection, and we're here to thrive together. It shouldn't be one over the other.
Okay, so the relationship is the connection. Like that's to be connected is to have a relationship. And I love that you said she wants us, nature, Mother Nature, Gaia, wants us to allow her to support us. I love that. And that you chose it, the control, I guess it sounds like, we're just connecting the control. The only where we want to have control is over our minds to choose which thought to be thinking, which conversation to be having, like what you did with the timber. You're like, hey, would you say if you're intuitively communicating with that timber, now it's been cut down, is it still living? Like, are you still connecting with it?
Oh, yes. It's very much living. It's very much living. And this is something else that I've, the more that you connect with energy and vibration, the more you realize that anything that has color is living.
Oh, living color.
Anything that Yeah.
That's a good- Anything with color is living.
Yeah. Anything that has color is living. And even a black carpet is living because there's colors that went into that creation of the black. So I really believe that life, anything we can see is alive. It has a vibration. It has a story.
Yeah, it's having its experience. You're making this really hard on me, Selena, because I just found a Beanie Baby the other day, and it's valuable.
Oh.
And I was like, God, I can't give this thing away. Like I've had it for all these decades, and I was feeling sad. And then I read the little tag in it, and it even said, "This little bear can't take care of himself, so he has to stay on the shelf." And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to abandon him. So how do I have? I would like to sell him, but now I feel bad. How could I intuitively communicate with this vibration to purposely feel good about selling him?
Yeah, well, that's just a story that was created around the Beanie Baby, right? So everything that we give meaning to is the meaning that comes into our consciousness. So that's why when we say a word, everybody might experience that word. If I say blue, the way you picture blue and the way someone else pictures blue and the way someone else pictures blue could be very different hues of blue that show up in their consciousness, because it's all about the meaning that we give to the words, and it's all about the meaning that we give to the objects that are actually creating our response and our relationship with those objects. So if we have an emotional attachment to something, or we feel, if we feel guilty for abandoning something in our past, we might project that onto a Beanie Baby, for example.
Oh, yes.
So we are often just projecting our own emotional highs and lows onto objects that are just reflecting our internal state constantly.
Okay, that was huge. And so when you are intuitively connecting with something, how does one know if we're telling our story or if we're truly connecting and listening to that vibration story without our judgment on it?
Well, because sometimes you'll get the opposite answer. So like with me in the timber, it was like my human self was putting judgment towards that, right? Like my human self was like, oh, we're taking down these trees, and I let myself feel bad because the thought of death, for example, I might have some sort of story around how death is sad and bad and all this stuff, and I'm projecting that onto the tree, and I'm not allowing the greater force of life to speak to me when I'm in judgment. So the only way to go into your intuition is to release the mind and to allow the mind to rest and to give up that control and those own ideologies and perceptions that we all come here with, and our own experiences that are stored inside of our memory system and the way that we're perceiving the world around us. And when we release that and we go into the infinite intelligence and access the information, that information is the information that is meant for us. And oftentimes it's the same information. And the reason that I was able to really sharpen my intuition is because I spent a lot of time with friends who were very intuitive and psychic as well. And we'd go on these trips to Hawaii, and we'd speak to trees together, and we'd close our eyes and we'd say, okay, well, what did you see? And what did you see? And what did you see? And what did you hear? And we'd start putting the pieces of the story together, and we realized it was all the same story, just told in different ways to suit our consciousness.
Told in different ways to suit our consciousness. Oh, I love that. Told in different, that actually, and that takes judgment away, and you're right and I'm wrong and you're right out, because it's told in different ways. I love that. Okay, now I have a funny question for you. So you've been around the world, and you talk to the trees. And, and do the trees from around the world have different information, or are they all connected and share the same story?
Yes. Oh, that's a beautiful question. So the trees are all connected to one another. In my experience, every tree around the world knows every tree around the world. They're all interconnected. And this was a huge awakening that I had in a meditation that I did in, I believe it was in the Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a very interesting concept that we're like, humanity is all so connected, and we have this higher understanding and notion that we're all one as humanity. But I think it's important to also recognize that even the trees are all one as trees, and the birds are all one as birds. And even within the species, they're all connected. And so I really do believe that the trees are always connecting and speaking to each other and communicating. And I also do believe that each of them have a very different story to tell, and a very different aura, and a very different message for each and every one of us. And depending on where we are in our lives, and depending on the information that we require at that moment in time, that is often the type of tree that we will be pulled to or connect with.
Oh, I like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, that one I want to dive into. We have 1 minute for commercial. I have to make one of my corny jokes because I think it's hilarious. Is that when you said, one tree speaks to all the trees, and I was like, would that be a poplar tree? Popular poplar speaks to tree. Oh goodness, I'm going to get a lot of flack on that. Tree jokes, I know. Well, the one thing I would love to talk about when we come back after break is you mentioned about the trees, each particular tree having a message for us as an individual. Now, I cannot wait to ask you about, are the trees giving messages to us that we need to hear in our lives, or are they delivering messages that what they need, which is going to help heal the world? But don't answer that yet. When we come back after.
Great question.
When we come back after commercial break, we're going to continue on this connection, intuitive connection with nature, and how it can truly improve the quality of our lives, and making sure it's not control, and how control can play a role. When we're back with Selena Ella Moon.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Hi, this is David Strickle. I'm excited to share my brand new show, The Stream of David Live, right here on OMTimes Radio. Each week I'll have exciting guests, and I'll channel the eternal wisdom of the stream, a group of non-physical entities whose teachings have transformed lives all over the world. So join us for an uplifting hour each Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's The Stream of David Live right here on OMTimes Radio.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, you guys. You're listening to Light on Living with moi, Lisa Berry, and I have Selena Ella Moon here. She's an intuitive coach and transformational facilitator. And I love that you have this background, Selena, in psychosomatic therapy. And before we went to break, because I'm gonna roll that in, because I want you to explain what that is. But you mentioned that we as individuals, you, Selena, myself, Lisa White, walk up to or be attracted or called in by a tree. We might be really drawn to one, and so we go there, and whether we're touching it. So I'll let you bring in that psychosomatic there. I said that wrong, but and is it us wanting a message for our personal selves from the tree, or is it the tree calling us in to say, I have a message and I need something?
I think that really depends on where we are vibrationally. If you can think about it, sometimes you're in a mood to go to a restaurant and order food and receive something from the chef, from the kitchen, to be served. And other times you have a friend over and you are preparing a dish and serving someone else a meal. and depending on your energy and whether you're in a place of giving or receiving, I think that's what you're going to get from the tree. You're going to be, if you're in a place of giving, you may get a message from the tree that says, hey, can you offer this for me? Or, I would love for you to touch me here where I feel maybe, some pain, or maybe the tree says to you, hey, I have beautiful energy to offer you. And sometimes you'll feel it. Like you said, if you go up and you sit beside a tree, or if you hug a tree, or if you just enjoy the leaves of a tree, or you even just connect with the bark, for example, you're always going to have something happen to your energy that's going to assist you in some way.
Oh, I love that. I have an aloe vera plant, well, a bunch of them here in the house. Ooh. And every time I walk by them, I always kind of grab his little arm nicely and just kind of like shake it or go, hey there, you want some love? And just pet it. But it always feels good. And so we're not making that up. Like, we're not.
No. It's a living thing. It's like, imagine a human that just doesn't speak.
Right. Yeah.
Right? It still has its own vibration. It's still living.
Yeah. We place a lot on verbal communication, and that's why I'm loving this conversation today, because there's so much that's nonverbal. And let's go into the intuitive part of communication. Mm-hmm. Okay. Share with us what that feels like to you, and how that did you always have it? Did you just always have it, but then realize what it was? Like, what's your history with intuitive communication with nature?
Yeah, definitely. So I noticed that there's multiple ways to connect with nature, and I noticed that the word intuition is thrown around a lot, and I think people understand even that word in different ways. So before going into this, I just want to clarify that I do have clairaudient gifts, and I do have clairvoyant gifts that I've developed over the last decade specifically. And to me, intuition is actually not necessarily those gifts. I call those more like psychic gifts. My intuitive gifts feel like they're more connected those feel like they're connected to my higher chakras. And my deep intuitive gifts feel like they're coming from my innate body, which stems from my sacral and my solar plexus, it feels like. Okay. So depending on where I am in that moment, I may hug a tree and not hear anything, but I will feel something. And my intuition will say, ooh, this is giving me a soothing feeling in my gut, because maybe I have a digestive problem that day. Or if I'm in a very psychic space, I may go and sit in front of a tree and we'll have a conversation, and I'll hear the telepathic words exchanged back and forth between me and the tree, and that feels more like a psychic connection. So I tend to kind of go back and forth between the two. I notice on days where I'm not a psychic, I can actually really just rely on my more innate intuitive powers, and then when I'm more psychic, then I just have those conversations.
Okay, that is so helpful. That is incredible.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, that was crazy awesome, because, oh wow, I just think you helped that when in your bio specifically saying you bridging the gap between spirituality and practicality. And now that makes sense to me. That spirituality is that psychicness, maybe the higher chakras. Yes. Practical, being intuitive, I feel this, and I'm going
I have
with
a
that
sense
flow.
of this. Yeah, I have an inner knowing. It's when your body is connecting and communicating with you. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you get all these visions, and all these powerful telepathic abilities. You don't have to have that to have a connection with nature. Right. If you don't have those gifts, you can still have just as powerful a connection. You might not be able to speak to it in the same languaging that somebody who's more psychic would be able to. However, if you were to go lay on the grass, your experience could be very vivid and could be extremely fortifying for you. And you might not have the words to explain the intellectual part of that. However, you will have the sensation, and even just having that sensation in your body is a relationship that's being formed.
Okay, I love that. Okay, the body. And that was one of the things I wanted to talk about was getting grounded. But getting grounded doesn't always mean just in your body. And it doesn't always just mean laying on the ground. It's water.
No.
It's climbing. I don't know. It's all this I'm going to ask you right now, actually. What does it mean to get grounded? And why do we need to get grounded? What is the benefit of getting grounded?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question because, I believe that grounding is actually the act of connecting to our human existence. It's connecting to the part of us that is human. So because I believe that 99% of us is non-physical, and that just a small part of us in this body right now is physical, but we are so much greater than that. We are so much more than what we can see with our eyes. And so when we connect to the part of us deeply that is physical and really just acknowledge that we are in a physical space, in a physical body, in a physical reality, connected to a physical planet, and we have physical needs like money, like food, like sleep, like water, like exercise, like relationships, like fixing your car if it's broken, or cleaning your house if it's dirty. Those are all grounding to me because it's really just paying attention to the physical aspects of life.
Okay. You're helping me out here today. This is awesome. And I go, because sometimes, yes, because sometimes I'll just be so everywhere and I'll think, you know what? I can't do anything other than I need to go wash the dishes right now. I need to organize this physical space in my office. I need to do laundry, fold laundry, something. And it feels good. And I'm like, why does this feel good? This literally feels good. It feels like I'm accomplishing something. It feels like I don't know. Is that what it is? It is?
Well, the two feed off each other. Right?
Okay.
The two feed off each other. So if you think of the physical body, we have this physical body. You think of your physical space. You have your physical home and your kitchen and your dishes. Those are all physical, right? and then you think of like what's going on around the physical. Well, then we have this other body, and this other body is called the emotional body, right? And then outside of that emotional body, we have the mental body. And then outside of that mental body, we have the more etheric spiritual body. So if you think about it, if you're cleansing something in the physical realm, it's seeping into your emotional body, and then it's seeping into your mental body. So if you're cleaning your dishes, you're cleaning out your emotions, you're cleaning out your thoughts, and then you're cleaning out your spirit.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I can feel that. I actually could feel that going, like that joy that you're feeling physically, like, yes, clean dishes. Oh, got that done.
Yeah.
And then there's this appreciation, and then it seeps into like what you're thinking, and then it's in the spirit. So is this why they say to have no clutter around you is actually so spiritual cleansing?
Exactly, because it's that feeling of purity and that essence of clarity that comes through our physical environment and penetrates into our emotional and our mental and then our spiritual landscape.
I'm imagining raking leaves right now thinking, gosh, the trees are probably asking me, could you please just tidy up the area? Does nature get, I don't want to say cluttered. Does nature get blocked from being able to communicate and connect with us?
That's a beautiful question. I don't believe so. I believe that nature is ever giving and always there to be in service. I think when we don't honor that part of nature, I think nature can start to, pull back in some way if we are consistently ignoring her and not treating her with the love and respect that she deserves. But to merely observe a flower and appreciate that flower just makes that flower so much more beautiful. It's like, think of a compliment, right? It's like, imagine you're like wearing your favorite outfit, and like no one really knows that's your favorite outfit, but you're just feeling really good about it, and you walk down the street and someone's like, hey, you look really cute in that outfit. It's like suddenly the outfit just got 10 times better because someone just looked at it and complimented it. So that's how nature is, right? It's like you stop to appreciate the tree. The vibration of the tree is just like, wow, thank you. That's the relationship, right? It's like that gratitude back and forth, the compliments back and forth, the appreciation that goes back and forth. the connection just continues to fortify the more that we place attention on it and love on it. Whatever we love is always going to heal and bring back love.
I feel like
Whoever
right now,
we love.
listeners are just going to, this is such an easy step. If sometimes, we hear, give gratitude or show appreciation. And some people literally are like, I just don't know how. Well, I think you just gave us a super simple step. This is the super simple step by Selena. And that is to
a lot
compliment.
Of that one.
I love that. And to compliment nature, to go out and compliment nature, just go, hey there, nice green outfit you got going on today, or nice shade.
Yeah. I love it when you turn red like that.
and this is a really nice easy way to, like what you said, to really acknowledge and appreciate. And there's one of the cards that I have from a deck I pulled years ago. I was at a convention, and it says, the appreciation of it attracts its essence to me. And as we appreciate that, what do you go out? So what's your practice? What's your ceremony? Do you make it such an official thing, or do you just do it?
Well, it's funny that you asked me that, because in the beginning I was very disconnected from nature. I grew up in a very religious household, and I used to think that was, the end all be all to everything. And when I started opening up my spiritual channels more and more, I realized that real spirituality is actually in nature. And I was never taught that in my religious upbringing. And so I started dissociating from that world and connecting deeper and deeper and deeper to something as simple as a blade of grass. And I would just look at a blade of grass and really try to feel it and understand it. And then it would grow into okay, now I'm going to look at this bird and try to feel this bird and understand this bird. And then I'm going to look at this tree, and I'm going to try to understand this tree. And then I'm going to look at this ant and really pay attention to the way it's moving and see what its world is about. And then this bee and this spider. And so I would just kind of choose things. And then because I'm such a journaler and a hardcore nerd when it comes to this, I would just take a paper and pen and I would just write what I experienced. So it's I feel like the spider is trying to tell me this, or I noticed this about the spider, and what that's teaching me about life is ... depending on where I am in my life. So I really believe that nature is a personal relationship based on where we are in life. So some might look at a spider and say, ew, that thing is creepy and crawly. And so there's something in their life that maybe they feel something in their life is creepy and crawly, right? And then other times you might look at the spider and think, this thing is so beautiful and it's just so powerful in the way that it creates. And then that's because there's something in you that's wanting to create or is being created that the spider is reflecting. And then you can look at a spider another time and say, wow, this thing's really catching prey, and it's really going after what it wants and setting itself up for success to live an abundant life. And then, you start looking at your own life and you're like, wow, that's because it's reflecting that part of me. And it's just a simple spider, and it can have so many meanings. Based on where you are, it's going to reflect that back to you.
Yes, I like that you're sharing that. And thank you for saying that again, because it really is where we are, what messages our souls
where we are.
Yeah.
So it can change from day to day.
Yeah, day to day, literally. Because
moment to moment.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So yes, because you can wake up one way and then by the end of the day go, wow, am I ever in a different place than I was, good, bad, or ugly? It's
exactly.
Real spirituality is in nature. I think that's absolutely gorgeous, because you just kind of removed a lot of boundaries, a lot of excuses, a lot of blocks. You don't need $1 million to create an altar or do this or go have a car to take you far across town to this church or mosque or whatever. It's everywhere. It's around us, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just this connection. We talk about. I would love to talk about how gentleness rather than pushing, gentleness with it all. And is there ever pushiness? When I think about, using nature, sometimes we say, that weed has taken over the garden, or that vine is strangling the blah, blah, blah. Is that going with the flow in nature, or is that really pushiness, or is something out of whack?
Yeah, well, I think that everything definitely does serve a purpose, and I think that weeds are grossly undermined in terms of what their capacity is. From what I've read, and I understand, and I'm definitely no professional on this matter, but I do believe that there is a purpose for everything. You know, if there's something that, if there's something that gets taken over, maybe that's just for the highest good, you know, and even if you think of like a forest fire, right? It's like the forest fire is actually, we judge that as something that's awful, but really it's also purifying and cleansing the soil for a new beginning.
Yeah. There's stuff because we don't understand yet.
We don't get it. And so we project our own ideas and our own ideologies onto these things in nature. And I agree, if you don't want weeds in your garden, then you just plant your garden in a certain way. And you understand what kind of, what kind of seeds and what kind of plants you need to plant in order to avoid weeds. But in general, in nature, wherever there's a weed, there's a story behind that weed and why it's there.
Where there's a weed, there's a story. I love that. It's somebody else's will. They go,
there's a bigger will. So
there's a bigger will.
We can't control. We can have an agenda. I think we all have an agenda. You know, whether that agenda is to love everything or to just go with the flow or to get our, check everything off our to-do list or to make everything as fun as possible or maybe to make everything as monetized as possible. Everyone has a different agenda in life as to what they're doing, right? Some people just want to feel things. Some people don't want to feel anything. So their agenda is to avoid feeling things. Like everybody has all these different agendas that they come with, and we can project those agendas onto nature all we want, but it doesn't necessarily make it true.
Okay, that actually is a perfect way to go to commercial, because when we're back, I want to talk about the cooperation of the agenda of nature. So does nature have an agenda? Do we have an agenda? What's the cooperation in both of our advancements in this world? So when we're back, we're going to hear more from Selena Ella Moon and myself, Lisa Berry, here on Light on Living. Back in 2 minutes.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Consistently attract soulmate clients. Begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation, and let's magnetize and monetize.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Welcome back, everyone. We are in our final segment. Sad face. And there you go with Selena here. And Selena, this is something I'm gonna have you do, like as if we were in court here and I just accused nature of doing something and I want you to defend it. Okay. And really, it really is about, we all have agendas. I mean, just because that's what it is. And we want to have advancement in our lives, and I'm sure nature does. I have to call in this question about allergies. allergies, because people are allergic to fruits and plants and grasses and sunlight even, so is it nature's agenda for us to have these allergies, or is it our agenda to disconnect from it? Would you have anything to share with that about the allergies and connection?
I do have something to share, but I don't know if everybody's going to like what I have to say.
They don't have to like it.
So I do believe that whatever it is that we are allergic to is that we are resisting. Mm-hmm. We're resisting something that it has to offer. And it could be some form of frequency or some form of energy or even something related to our emotional body that we are rejecting. And if we are allergic to it, I believe that it's a resistance that we've created against something, because there's a belief that is on a very deep subconscious level. There is a belief that particular thing is going to maybe cause harm, for example, or hurt us in some way.
Yes, I'm going to make a bad joke, but it could be true. So I have an allergy to onions, and now maybe I'm realizing, because I know that if that onion makes me cry, it's going to ruin my mascara. But
wow, there you go. So I believe we create. I do. I believe we create our. I don't think that's a bad joke. I actually think that's quite accurate what you just said, because I talk to people. It is, because I talk to people that are they're for example, like, oh, I'm allergic to cats. It's like, well, tell me about the first time you experienced a cat. And they'll be like, oh yeah, I was at my, uncle's house when I was a kid, and it was like, there was this cat, and it didn't like me. Or it's like, well, did you assume it didn't like you because it didn't come close to you? Or, because people have a story that they're holding and they don't even realize it. And I think oftentimes when we're allergic to something, like I know for me growing up, it was like my every time there was like a lot of pollen in the air, my dad would start to have an allergic reaction. And then I remember one day, just because I'm very empathic, especially when I was young, to my family, I would start having these reactions to pollen. And then lo and behold, I went for an allergy test, and it would say, okay, you're allergic to pollen. And it was like, but why? Why am I allergic to pollen? Do I actually have does my body actually have a reason to be allergic to this? Or is it because I witnessed something at a very young age, that as an empathic child, that said, I'm going to take on my dad's pollen allergy, and then that's what I did.
Absolutely. And
in every spring, I think for the most part, there are still moments that I have allergic responses to things, but I also pay attention to the storylines. It's like every spring, it's like hay fever season.
Yes.
Well, it's like if you're calling it hay fever season, you're gonna get it.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Because you're calling it that.
So do you work with clients to help them find those deep-seated or subconscious, I don't know what to call them. Do you help to
deeply
work with
it? Yes, exactly. So my thing is like on an emotional level, I'll connect with things. So for example, like I had a client a couple of weeks ago come to me and say, I've had these fibroids for years and I don't know why they're there. And we dove really deep, and it turned out that there was something that happened when she was like in her 20s, that a doctor had told her that because of some medication she had taken, that she would no longer be able to conceive a child. And so that stuck inside of her womb and became a fibroid. Wow, and when she was able to make peace with that, it started shrinking. Within like 3 weeks, she shrunk 2 inches off her fibroid.
Wow. We have that power.
Yeah.
That's nature, because nature's in us.
Yes. Yes.
So that is
exactly
the nature of the fibroid.
Exactly. I had another person say that every time he'd go to these big events and, he would go to like these shows and trade shows, his knees would start acting up. And when I tuned into his knees, it was claustrophobia.
Oh.
And so his knee was having an immediate reaction to something that happened when he was a child that said claustrophobia. And so when we clear the claustrophobia, the knee doesn't respond that way in that environment anymore.
Really? Oh,
right? So, wonderful. So we can really go deep into the emotional causes. And I'm not saying this is the only way to go about it. Of course, there's people that look into Akashic records and karmic things and things like that. But my gift is to look into the emotional aspects of things. And I can often sort of get a feel for what's happening on an emotional level. And because all the body's emotional, physical, mental are so connected, clearing it in one body will often have positive effects all around, right across the board. So that is just my area.
And with that, sorry, this is a huge one. You've mentioned being empathic. Is there a difference between being an empath and healer and being intuitive?
Oh, big time. Because you can be intuitive and not feel what everyone else is feeling around you.
Ah, okay. So you're using both your empath abilities as well as intuition to work with people, clients, the world, yourself.
Yeah, well, not so much anymore. I was able to learn how to just use my intuition and my psychic powers to work with people, so that I didn't have to feel people empathically, because that was heavy on me, and I think that is heavy on a lot of healers, and I think it's a journey in recognizing that we don't have to take and feel other people's stuff in order to help them heal. And I used to think that I did have to do that in order to help people heal. And so I really hung on to that quite a bit for a long time. And when I finally released it, I realized I don't need any of this to help people heal. It's not needed, because I can just open myself up to be a vessel for the divine. I don't have to feel anyone's pain ever in order to assist them.
That's right. And, sorry, you just reminded me of something that many people will say, and how I would love to know your feeling on this. If you're somebody's looking to have help, but they say, you don't know what it's like. You can't imagine how I feel. I always feel like, well, you just blocked me off, so I could never. And first of all, I don't want to. I just want to be able to know how to help you, not help you hurt more. If a person is called right now and is hearing you and saying, wow, you know what? I love the way Selena's connecting to in nature and hearing this and just the words that are flowing from you. And they would like to find out or learn. Like, do you teach people how to use their intuition more, or do you help them heal and transform? What was that? What's the biggest invitation for people?
The way that I work with people is based on what they want, not what I want for them. So what I do is I have people fill out a questionnaire and I have them tell me what it is that they're wanting. And I will typically meditate on somebody before even getting on a phone call with them. And I'll really go into, what is going on here, and is what they're asking for the highest good. And, what are some of the things that I'm feeling could be potentially blocking this person from achieving what they want. And then once I'll usually have about a page and a half worth of writing just from meditating on them once I get the questionnaire. And then I'll be able to get into a call with that person and give the feedback there as to what's going on and share what I'm getting in terms of how I can support them. And it's never been the same. It's never been the same thing twice.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody is receiving information and healing in their own unique way. And my gift is that I don't pride myself on one modality, because I've even in my astrological chart, I've been told multiple times that I'm potentially one of the top, % of intuitive people on this planet, based on just the way that all my birth chart is, like where all the planetary placements are when I was born, just heightened my natural ability to be intuitive.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I don't need to rely on modality.
Right. Yes. I think a lot of people are coming to that they're realizing that whichever and I love that you shared that once you did this and now you do this because you realize this. And like, there's been a couple now times through this show. And if you're listening and you want to catch the replay on that, you want to hear that, because I love that you are flexible and you are not hanging on and you are not controlling, because that's what the whole thing's about, is you're just connecting. You're not controlling and you're not the expectation of this outcome. If people, right now you said about filling out a form. Where is this form that people could fill out if they would like to connect?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if they just go to my website, which is SelenaEllaMoon.com, SELENA Ella, ELLA Moon, MOON.com. If you just actually go to my website, you'll see that if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see there's a place that says click here if you'd like to fill out a questionnaire. And if you just click there, you'll get sent right to the questionnaire. You can fill out a questionnaire and we can set up a consultation.
I love that. Sometimes I actually like questionnaires just for fun, even just to start asking myself these questions. Like, you're going to ask questions that maybe they've never been asked before. Like, I'm curious right now. I was like, I want to ask these questions. I want to read these questions. And is that a good place to start, actually? If somebody's right now going, I would like maybe they're wondering, am I controlling nature? I would like some connection. What questions could they ask themselves to just even begin opening their channel, their door, their hearts to connect with nature?
Yeah. So I always say, like, what's your biggest fear? Like, what are you afraid of? Because chances are what you're afraid of is what you're trying to control not to happen.
Oh, that was so good. Sorry.
Yeah.
What's your biggest fear is usually where you are stuck in that control. And so what do they do?
Yeah.
Well, they're going to have to connect with you. But there you go. So here they are. They're like, okay, I'm afraid of tarantulas.
Yeah.
And now what? How can I love the tarantula?
Well, it's not so much about, I will, like, again, because I like to work on an emotional level, right? So for me personally, when we're looking at the story of a tarantula, I would say, well, how does the tarantula make you feel? And when do you remember feeling that way before? And let's go there and let's clear that out, because that's connected to the tarantula.
Right. I love that. And there's so many common fears, and that's which is making us on a global scale control in the same way and connect with other people who are controlling. Like, yeah, I don't like tarantulas either. Let's get them, because now we have a fear-based world. And I love that you're supporting. Now, you've self-mastered, because we only have 5 minutes. I can't believe it's running out. Well, you have self-mastered intuitive connection. I love that. Now, self-mastery is a common thread between, I think, for us, because we are both a part of iAwesome, which I've been talking about with all the listeners. Yay! Which is just for everybody new. It's the International Academy of Universal. I love that. Self-mastery. So everybody pop over to iAwesome.com. You're going to just want to check that out. I talk about it all the time, but that's a super invitation. And Selena, just in sharing, with you having self-mastered intuitive connection, what do you feel that allows you to bring to iAwesome, to your clients, to the world through you self-mastering that? What is your goal with that, your vision?
Yeah, well, my vision is very much connected in this time, in this next chapter of my life, to bringing in and weaving in the frequency of the new earth into humanity. And I'm a visionary. I'm a big thinker. So, iAwesome has really challenged me to really like fine tune and go deep into one particular piercing aspect, in the sense that I generally keep a big overview. But what I really love about iAwesome is that it definitely reflects the fifth dimension in many ways, and it also reflects the new earth in many ways, because one of the avenues in which I want to serve humanity is to be able to help humanity evolve in the education system. And of course, I'm very passionate about the healthcare system as well, and the way that we operate in government, and the way that we operate in politics, and the way that Hollywood is operating. But specifically with iAwesome, we're really looking at the education system, and we're going to start posing these questions that why are these types of courses not taught in schools anyways? Well, guess what? We're offering a space for people to connect to metaphysical concepts in ways that they may have never had exposure to in other classrooms, and in such a social and community-based environment that there is encouragement and there is empowerment and there is love circulating in a place where people are suddenly respected with integrity in ways that they never have been before in those types of academic settings. And I think that's really what excites me most about being a part of iAwesome.
And I love that, circulating love. I do have to ask, do you feel that it's right now that the whole world needs an overhaul, like a stop and a hard stop, a hard start of new ways of learning and doing things? Or is it like what you mentioned? I love that you said weaving in the new frequency. Is it possible to weave in, or are we doing a hard stop and brand new start?
I believe it's a weaving in, because I don't think we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think we have made some pretty amazing gains in terms of living. And if you just look at our technology and how we've been able to establish ourselves in a lot of ways, I think is quite beautiful. But now I think we need to fine tune it to bring nature back into the picture and divinity back into the picture and love back into the picture. And we can find a way to fuse it all together.
Oh, I love that word, fuse it back together. And that doesn't, it's a different kind of a commitment. It's a commitment to nature. It's a commitment to connection, actually.
Yes. And to oneness and love and community.
Yes, oneness. I love that. Is there any final words? I've got 30 seconds left. I would love for you to share whatever it is that's from your heart right now.
Yeah, I just want to tell everybody where you are in your path. You always have the ability to just take a step back and to connect with something that speaks to you, and just allow yourself to go deep into that, into whatever it is, and allow yourself to explore it in a way that of logic, and allow yourself to get curious and see what comes through that experience, because you could surprise yourself with a huge breakthrough by simply just being in the observation of something that is ever so natural. And I really think that's important for all of us to take a step back and to observe, so we can master our understanding of who we are and what's being reflected back to us.
Master the understanding of who we are. I think that's absolutely the most beautiful. So right now I feel like you've just given us permission so that we can give ourselves permission in that direction too, to take a step back. So everybody, please visit SelenaEllaMoon.com, and that's where you're going to find those really, really questions, which is going to help you to have that curiosity and to have a better understanding of yourself. So thank you, Selena, so much for sharing this time with us. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
All right, everyone, go on out there and go talk to a blade of grass. Go watch the water flow, and join us again next Monday at 12 p.m. when Light on Living is having our Access to Angels and Grace with Noemi Grace. We'll see you then. Bye, everyone. Bye, Selena.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for being here, everyone.